Hey, welcome back to another episode of LLC with me, David Wintzer. Oh my gosh, it's always another beautiful day. There's always another lesson to be learned, always another conversation to have about it, because there's a lot of things to learn here on planet Earth, a lot of things to learn here in this game of life. And as you know, it's my belief that if we can just share a little bit of these lessons along the way, we're going to get better. So I've been really kind of going back in my early business days before I was a contractor, early on out of college, when the entrepreneurial bug kind of hit me and I was really intrigued in starting a business and drawn towards things, but I didn't know anything. And as I've started looking back on all these LLCs I thought, that we made along the way, I'm like, man, I did some dumb shit back in the day. I really did. And it's quite embarrassing. And I guess my question to you is, do you have an embarrassing moment in your entrepreneurial career? And I know the answer is yes. It's a rhetorical question. What is the embarrassing moment in your entrepreneurial career that you're afraid to tell people even happened? Like I started thinking about all these mistakes we made in this business because we just didn't know any better. We had no experience, and it's really interesting. And so I'm about to share with you our first mistake that we ever made, or one of the first mistakes, but this was the first one that was cost us big. And it's just really unbelievable when you're young, naive, what you go through. So banana flour and bad decisions. This is the embarrassing story of my first business and what it taught me. So fresh out of college, I went to Kenya. I was working with a nonprofit, and we were giving out microloans, small business loans, to 25 incredible women. These women were starting small food businesses, clothing businesses. They sold these things at the market and stuff like that. And one of the women that had these businesses, she was the mentor of all these women, was Monica. And Monica was making unripe green banana flour. Monica was a mentor to these women. And as I started seeing this banana flour, it's green banana flour. So it's dehydrated, milled into flour, and it's high in starch, and you can bake with it. And we're like, holy cow, the gluten-free revolution, if you will, was on the rise. The gluten-free knowledge was on the rise, and this product was going to be innovative. And we totally thought that the U.S. could benefit from this particular product. We thought we could sell this at Whole Foods and all these things. And so ultimately, we just jumped right in. We were the only people doing this. You couldn't find banana flour anywhere. If you Googled banana flour, it didn't exist. We were able to secure bananaflour.com, which is an incredible feat at that time, anything.com, because all the websites for just anything were going. That's how it was. I mean, if you had like a 4 or 5 letter word.com, like shoes.com or something, it was worth millions. And to get bananaflour.com, if this thing became big, was a huge thing to secure. So we believed we were bringing something brand new to the American market that was going to explode, and we were really excited about it. And so we jumped in. We worked with these women. We did our things, and then, one of the first big lessons, I have so many lessons in Kenya that we learned, but while we were trying to secure this product in Kenya, we realized these women couldn't meet the capacity of what we thought we were able to do. So we didn't know anything about anything. So we started searching around, and it started with the most basic stuff. Like what we didn't know was so absolutely basic. Like, oh my God, we want to start a food company. All right, we got to get this food product here. Like, how are we going to get it here? All right, we're going to have to ship it on a boat. How does that work? Like, who do we talk to for that? What does it come in? Holy cow, we got to sell this in the store. So it has to go on like a packaging. So we got to get logo. We got to get packaged. What kind of package is it going to be? Shit, what's on like a package? We pulled out like a package out of the pantry, like a box of pasta or something. We're like, oh my God, there's a barcode. Like, where do we get a barcode? Oh, the nutritional label. How do we even do that? Like, do we have to get approved by the FDA? Like, how do you even get a nutritional label? Like, what does it work? How does the regulations work? How does the shipping of it work? The boxing, the warehousing, like with the shelf lives. How do you know what the expiration date is? Like, how do we know all these things? These are like the most basic things of anything, and we didn't know anything. What not knowing anything requires when you're young as an entrepreneur in any field. You could be a wise entrepreneur. You could have sold multiple businesses, and let's say you sold a bunch of businesses in tech, and now you're starting a shoe company. You do everything in construction your whole life, and then you start a banana flour company, or vice versa. Like in my case, I had a banana flour company. I started a construction company. You don't know what you don't know. So to get good as an entrepreneur early in the phase and understand the business that you're going into, you have to be extremely curious. You have to ask a lot of questions. You have to have the humility to say, we don't know. So by not knowing, you have to become educated. So we Googled everything. We called people we know, like, hey, like we're thinking of doing this. We just Googled a bunch of factories and said, hey, like we're starting a food company. We know nothing about this. Like, how do we even get a package? Oh, we'll send you a bunch of samples of this package. How do we know what packages are rated for what? Oh, this is what we would suggest. Okay, how do we even like feel and touch those? Oh, send those over. And then how do you print on it? Oh, do you know how we get barcodes? Yeah, you can go to these 3 websites. What about a nutritional label? Oh, you got to get it tested by a food lab. Do you know anybody in the food lab space? Yeah, I got a couple people I could put you in touch with. Cool. Then what about like shipping and receiving? Oh, we can handle that. How does that work? You ask an insane amount of questions about all the things that you don't know, which is a lot. You ask a lot of questions. You get curious. So this is how green we were. We didn't know anything. So we're working with these women in Africa, and we're like, all right, how can we like get bigger shipments in? So we go to this website called Alibaba. Alibaba is like the Amazon of, it's like the Amazon of China, but you can buy trade goods on there. You can find individuals that are selling like, you know, if you want to start a shoe company and you want to find someone that actually manufactures the shoes and can stitch them and paint them and box them, that's, you know, there's companies for that. There's companies for green banana flour. There's companies if you want to get zippers, mangoes, anything in between. In addition, you can go buy like anything you could buy on Amazon, a camera, a microphone, whatever. So we went to Alibaba. Side tangent, Alibaba had one of the richest guys in the world, Jack Ma, and Jack Ma went somehow, he spoke out against the Chinese government. He's from China, and he spoke out against the government. And I mean, he's like one of the richest guys in the world. He's super powerful. And you haven't really heard from Jack Ma again. He kind of went into hiding. So I digress. So we got our stuff off Alibaba, and we found this guy in the Philippines. And we're like, all right, man, we're trying to ramp this up. Like, what do we need to do? Oh, you know, minimum order is 20 tons. So we get 20 tons in. So he gave us the banana flour, sent us a shipment. We looked at it. It looked really good. You know, his product looked good. We went to the lab and got a nutritional label put on it. They put a nutritional label. Like, all right, great. So we got all the stuff tested. And then we ordered 20 tons of this banana flour. So this banana flour, it was contaminated. We got it to the packaging company. They're like, hey, this is really, really bad. We're like, well, what do you mean? Like, it's really bad? And they're like, you know, your bacteria count is insane. Like, you can't sell this. Like, you get in big trouble if you put this on the shelves. Like, this is disgusting product. We're like, what do you mean? So they're like, well, what was their bacteria count when you tested it before? And we're like, what's the bacteria count? They're like, you got to have a parts per million bacteria count. We're like, oh, well, we got the nutritional label. They're like, no, that's not on the nutritional label. Like, this is a different thing. We're like, okay. They're like, we have a lab. We can test it. We're like, okay. So I'm making all these numbers up. This is definitely not real. But so the bacteria count, the tolerable bacteria count, parts per million, I want to say was like, I don't even know. It was either 4,000 or like 40,000, but probably none of those. But we were somewhere of like the range of like 2 million. And the tolerance was like at most 40,000. Could have been like 10,000. And we were at 2 million. So this product was dog shit. It was gutting. 20 tons, I forget what it cost, man. It was like $15,000 or something. We lost it all. It was gone. And this guy just bounced. He's like, dude, not my problem. Sorry. I gave you good product. Like, this isn't good product. And then he just stopped answering our emails and never got in touch with us again. The thing is we were entering into an agreement, an ordering of a product overseas from someone we've never met before in a developing country, and we put all this faith into him based on one sample shipment he sent us, and we gave him, call it $15,000 of money in exchange for a product that's not what we thought we were buying. We didn't ask the right questions. We didn't vet the supplier. We met this guy online. He said he could provide what he could provide. He gave us a mock-up sample that was really good, and then he shipped us a bunch of dog shit. We didn't do our due diligence, and we got taken advantage of badly. It was crippling. It was a dumbass business move. It was unbelievable how we didn't even think to ask these simple questions. hey man, like, can we come see your facility? Can you do like a virtual tour of your facility? Like FaceTime us, walk us through it. Call the nutritional experts and say, hey, we're shipping this product in. What are the things we need to look for? How do we test the quality of this product? How do we know if this is legit? Maybe talk to an attorney who knows about shipping and all this stuff. Insurance for like situations like this. We should have had some more education, and we didn't. And it was a stupid move on our part. But it was also a masterclass in learning the hard way. It was something that, let me put it this way, if you are an entrepreneur, you have a story like this. And if you're going into business and you don't think you'll have a story like this, you're wrong. You have a story like this. You have a story that makes you cringe. You have a story that you're so embarrassed about, you hope no one ever finds out about it. It's so embarrassing, you don't want to tell it. It's just unbelievable, unfathomable that you would make that particular decision, that you wouldn't ask those questions, that you would engage and deliver and hand over money to an individual that you don't know in a country across the globe. I mean, honestly, like when I break it down, I'm thinking this to myself, like, who buys a food product from a stranger in a developing country without visiting the facility? We did. Well, if you feel like you have one of these dumbass stories, and if you do, which you do if you're an entrepreneur, welcome to the club. We have all made a dumbass move in construction, in business, in life, but not from being stupid, but simply because we didn't even know any better. You don't know what you don't know. You're not going to get the results you want every single time without falling on your face first. It's just part of the game. It's the price of admission when you're in business. When you're an entrepreneur, you're going to fall down. You're going to do some stupid stuff that you can't even believe that you did it. Sometimes you're amazed you even survived. Some of these mistakes may take you out. And then you have to start a new business. We had so many of these mistakes in our business throughout the time, it just kind of wore us down over a decade. We were doing well. We were chipping away at it every year. We had 3,000 grocery stores we finally ended up in. But over the years, we just kept making dumb mistakes because we didn't know any better. We didn't ask the right questions. We were new. This was our first business. It was our first encounter in business. And when you're in business and you fall down, you make mistakes, you just do stupid ass shit. It's when you learn. That's how you grow. When you grow, you become more aware of the things not to do. Eventually, you start to see those pitfalls well before they arise. You start to see further into the future because of your experience. You start saying like, oh no, if we do that, let's think about the consequences. And then you actually roadmap it and say, all right, what's the worst case scenario? And when you map it out and you see the worst case scenario, you say, okay, we're not going to take that route. Or before we do that, we're going to vet this out. We're going to execute this. We're going to do an analysis, a survey, a study, something to vet out the opportunity, the situation before you make the decision to do it. When you're young in entrepreneurship, you just think everything's going to work out great. You just willy-nilly do your thing. Like you're the most optimistic person in the world. Like the entrepreneur is the eternal optimist. We think it's always going to work. We have moments of despair. It's never going to work. But at the end of the day, we start seeing different visions. We start seeing the moon and we start going for it. But it's going to come with those scars. But eventually, as you grow and you get calloused, you start to see those things well in advance. So it's the inevitable that you're going to hit the roadblocks. The unforeseen things are always going to happen. But eventually, you're going to spot those things a lot further into the future before they become something bigger than they can be or that they already are. The growing pains, legit just never stop. If you're a business owner, they just never stop. But over time, you'll get better at seeing them coming. That's how you get better. That's how you get better in life, in business, in your marriage, in your finances, in your health, in your mental. That's how you get better. Understanding that you're not alone in this entrepreneurial journey was a big eye-opener for me. Recognizing that we all go through this dark phase, this lonely phase, this I can't believe this keeps happening to me phase. I don't know if I'll ever get work again phase. I don't want to do this again phase. I have anxiety beyond belief. I'm stressed out phase. What have I done phase? Maybe I'll go get a job phase. This isn't fun anymore phase. You're not alone. And you're making stupid mistakes sometimes. That's part of the journey. But if you're not learning the lesson, if you're not recording and documenting and just implementing the LLC every time you learn those lessons, then you're not trying to get better and you're not going to grow. You're going to continue to make the same stupid mistakes over and over. And those stupid mistakes start to wear on people. They start to make your business fail. They start taking the legs out from under you, and you just get beat down, till eventually you've made too many mistakes or one is too big to recover from. It's okay to make the mistake. It's not okay to make the same mistake twice. And then what making mistakes has done for me is it has taught me to slow down and think a little bit more about the outcome, a little bit more about the consequence, good or bad. If we make this decision, if we go this direction, what will be the consequence of this? Slow down, learn from your mistakes. The LLC, the lesson learned throughout the entire process of all these mistakes you make is to remember them, to document them, and to grow from them by getting better and implementing systems and processes into your business that allow you to prepare for these situations so you don't do it again, i.e., you don't do it twice. Hope that makes sense. This was my first mistake. It was a $15,000, $20,000. I forget everything for the most part. I forget, especially the number side, but like cost us $15,000, $20,000 on our first business deal. That's crippling. When you and your business partner put in like your entire savings account and you just wiped out the majority of it in your first shipment. Oh my God. How dumbass is that? Extremely, if you're curious, extremely stupid. So, but I'm here. I survived. I learned the lesson. I vet everyone out now. I vet out clients. I vet out subcontractors. I vet out people we're going to hire in our business. I don't put a lot of money into people until I've vetted them out now. That's the lesson I learned. So think of your stupid mistakes. Think of all the things that you're embarrassed to talk about, things that have cost you money, time, employees, reputation, and just, they've caused you a lot of anxiety and stress. Think about those. How have you grown from those? Have you implemented anything into your business, into your life from those mistakes? And if not, spend a second, write it down, think about it. Don't just listen to stuff like this and then just not implement something. If you want to grow, implement the things you're doing. If you're listening to this podcast, the odds are you want to get better in business, most likely construction. So take the time to think of the mistakes you've made or mistakes you've seen other people make. Oh man, I've seen so many mistakes of builders next to me. I'm just chatting with people in the cul-de-sac, in the street. There's 2 construction projects going on by each other. I'm like, what's going on, man? Like, why are you guys slowing down? Like, sometimes we'll start a project at the same time as someone, and then we get like way further ahead of them, but like their project is like clearly stopped. Like something has happened. We're like, oh man, what's happened? And they tell you something, and you're like, oh man, like I didn't know that was a thing. Or, certain things just happen throughout the project. And you're like, okay, noted. Like, don't do that. You can learn lessons from other people too, just by having conversations. The name of the game is growth. The name of the game is learning the lesson. We all make the mistake. We all do dumbass shit if we own a business because we don't know any better. So learn, ask questions, get better, and implement. That's how we grow. That's my LLC today. My lesson learned for today's conversation is implement the mistakes, the LLCs, if you want to grow. You know who grew really quick? Like really quick. This guy was like, I don't even know, 5 years old, just smashing the golf ball. And then he just rapidly started going through California, just smoking the junior tour, smoking the U.S. Junior Tour, 3-time world junior champion, 3-time U.S. amateur champion, back to back, coming out hot as a pro, winning the Masters, age 21. You know who that is, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods. That guy has some lessons learned. And that guy is going to be on next week's show to share those lessons learned. So you got to tune in. That's right. Next week, 15-time major champion, Tiger Woods. It's going to be on this podcast, LLC. Lesson learned conversations with me, David Wintzer. I hope you have a great day. I love you guys. Please rate and review this. Thank you so much. That's all I got. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.